Hey gamers and parents, Carmine here. I got a chance this weekend to play in the Destiny beta. I thought I'd take a moment to share some of my thoughts and feelings about the entire experience and what I expect to see when the game launches in about 6 weeks now, give or take. Now, if you got a chance to see any other beta footage or some of the alpha footage, this is quite a crazy experience. It's very surprising to me. Destiny, Bungie definitely brought the hammer down with Destiny. This is a functionally and extremely good game. I made a little bit of a comment about it a while ago in terms of after playing the alpha, but this is the first time I'm going to be talking about it on YouTube. So in terms of comparing the alpha to the beta, both have great functionality. If you guys have played Halo, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. In terms of a shooting experience, it is extremely smooth and darn near flawless. I mean, I'm not a Halo fanboy here, but the shooting experience with that Bungie manages to create are very, very good functionally. I mean, it is a very good experience. That being said, there were a lot of little minor things that seemed to kind of bug me. Destiny has great visuals, has great mechanics. They've got RPG elements. The customizability is great. I love the customizability, the ability to create my character and make him look the way that I want, and have the weapons that I want to have, and the loadout and the armor, and have that clearly reflected when I'm going through functionally through the game and using those different weapons and armor pieces, especially the special weapons, because once I got a hold of one of those machine guns, I was sold on the special weapons. I mean, the machine gun was great, but there was plenty of little things that I don't know, I can't agree with in terms of the design decision. I cannot agree with the things that they've done. And I don't know how much of it is just because of this is a beta and they're going to be releasing more content later on, or how much of this is actually going to be in the finished product itself. But one of the things you'll notice about a lot of the footage that's talking about the single-player story experience or the co-op story experience, it's all the same level. And it's just you go through certain different areas, and maybe it's different time of day and all that, but it's all the same level right now. It's just one big environment that you end up exploring in slightly different ways. And there were a number of times when I went through the same exact areas and backtracked and did a different mission in the same exact area. And what I'm going to be interested to see is how the community, especially the Halo community, reacts to this kind of experience. Because I remember when Dragon Age 2 came out, one of the biggest reasons that people hated Dragon Age 2 was because it went through the same levels multiple times, up to 3 times depending on what the area was. And if Destiny and Bungie don't get kind of skewered for this, assuming this is going to be in the final product, I'm going to be very surprised. I'm going to be a little bit offended that Destiny gets a free pass for this kind of thing where other companies, like BioWare, don't. The experience was clearly tailored for a multiplayer experience, and you're going through cooperatively, and you're supposed to go through with friends. But when I went through alone, the experience was surprisingly mild. The mechanics were good, but the Peter Dinklage's character, the Ghost, doesn't really talk very much. He'll talk in very specific sections, and that's how you kind of know that you're going through the correct area. But he doesn't really just have an open dialogue, and I'm going to have to replay the first Halo and the second Halo to see how Cortana reacted. But when I went through and thought about the first Halo, it seems like everything was forwarding the story and the experience and the message that the game was trying to portray. And that wasn't the case with Destiny. When I'm going through Halo 1 and I'm playing through the first level, you can hear Captain Keyes talking over the loudspeaker, telling people to get out in their ejection pods and wishing them good luck as they escape down to the Halo ring. You can hear Cortana egging you on, trying to get you to get to the escape pod, telling you that things are going wrong and you've got to hurry up, and encouraging you to keep going. You can see the Covenant coming into this, the attacking the Pillar of Autumn and boarding the Pillar of Autumn and trying to take it. And you can, there's subtle things too, like when they go through and get into the escape pods, that they breach in through the empty escape pod hatches. There's clearly an intelligence that's portrayed there. You are not fighting a robotic zombie-like enemy. They are intelligent. I never got that in Destiny, not once. The enemies of both types felt essentially the same because they're both not particularly intelligent. They don't seem to have any, clear language that they're telling each other to do things. They just turn around and start shooting back at you. And in the case of the thrall, whatever the drone-like creatures were, they'll just throw themselves at you, hoping to attack you. They're just trying to charge at you. But I never felt like any of them were intelligent or trying to communicate or using any sort of tactical experience. They just happened to be there, and I'm going to go through and decimate them all. And on top of that, I'm not sure what the story is right now. It seems so vague. I mean, they talk about how the last human city is on the tower, and this giant strange white world that it's like a moon type thing that's hovering above Earth, and you go back and forth between Earth doing random small missions. But they never explain to you exactly what you're doing with these small missions. They never explain who you're fighting for. I don't know anyone's name, including the main character. I mean, you are a guardian. You are supposed to be some sort of a savior of mankind, I'm assuming, but you can choose different races at the very beginning, so I'm a savior of robot kind because I chose the cyborg type creature, and you're supposed to be protecting them from some sort of a generic darkness that's an unspecified darkness that, that's not very intimidating. I understand that I'm supposed to be fighting the darkness, but that doesn't give me an enemy to hate, something to look forward to, something to aim as that's the guy that I'm going to have to eventually kill. And the people that are in the tower, I don't see them as people. I see them as, at most, shopkeepers. But they could have replaced every single one of those guys with a vending machine, and it would have served the same function. I mean, what was disappointing about that was that each one of these characters that they had as merchants were clearly, specifically designed individual characters with voice acting and personalities, but they're hardly ever used. I mean, I go there and I stand with 5 other guys talking to the one vendor and get him to decrypt some of my, enigmatic new upgrades. And that's it. That's all I do. I don't actually have a dialogue with anyone. I don't have conversation options. I don't feel like I can influence the environment. And I believe that part of that has to do with the fact that this is an MMO. Make no mistake about it, Destiny is an MMO for consoles. When you can go into the cooperative experience playing missions, and you might be completely alone, and it'll make you feel like you're important in the storyline. But the second you enter the tower, that social experience, and it takes you into a third-person camera for no explainable reason, and has you standing there amongst dozens of other players that all look exactly like you. You all look like spacemen, like Master Chief, a little bit on steroids. You realize that you are not important in this story. The game might tell you that you're important, but you're you're just one in a million, and not in the good way here. And I don't necessarily like that about Destiny. That's a personal thing for me. I'm not really a huge fan of MMOs for that very reason. I want the story to make me feel like I am important, that I have influence over the environment and the characters and the relationships between myself and other people. But this is a purely MMO experience. It is purely cooperative. I mean, when you go out into the environment and you kill a few guys, sit there and wait for about a minute. See how long it takes for those guys to just run out of a nearby building and respawn and wait there for someone else to come along. I mean, Destiny is going to have all of the major problems that a normal big MMO is going to have. All the problems that World of Warcraft initially had, or the Old Republic initially had, or the Neverwinter the MMO initially had, Rift initially had, all of those problems, Destiny is going to have it, and so much more. I mean, the reality is it takes bits and pieces of RPGs and first-person shooters and MMOs, and some of those bits and pieces are great. I love the mechanics that they brought in from the first-person shooter stuff, especially the Halo series. I love some of the upgrades and RPG elements and new weapons and all that kind of thing that I got, from RPGs and that came into Destiny. But when it boils down to it, there are plenty of elements that are flawed beyond belief. I mean, when you look at Destiny and the way that it does things, it's you go into an area, you shoot and kill everyone, and then you leave. And while that may sound a lot like many other first-person shooter campaigns, Call of Duty, Battlefield, Medal of Honor, Homefront, all that kind of stuff, that's the kind of thing that we don't like. That's the kind of thing that I personally don't enjoy about having a single-player campaign. I want the story and the gameplay to flow together, not to be completely separate. I mean, you look at the truly great first-person shooters, talking about like Half-Life 2, the original Doom, all that kind of thing. The story is told as you're playing through the gameplay. The gameplay tells as much of the story as the random conversations and cutscenes do. And in the case of Half-Life 2, they went through that game with basically no cutscenes. I mean, they had first-person scenes where you were watching people have dialogues, but for the most part, you always had control of your character. You can interact with the environment while people were talking if you didn't want to have to pay attention to the story. And that's we don't want games that continue to separate story and gameplay. We want things that blend them together into a seamless experience, and that change as time goes along. And now, I can't be too hard on Destiny. I know that some of my friends have chastised me for being too hard on Destiny too early on, and I will admit this is a beta. This is not the full experience, but when I'm looking at this, I want Destiny to bring their best foot forward. And out of all the stuff that I played this weekend, the multiplayer was probably the most interesting. Frustrating as hell, but interesting. But I don't want to play Destiny for the multiplayer. The PvP elements, to me, that should be the last thing that I do. I should be focusing on the cooperative elements, the story elements, the single-player experiences, and going through that, because that's what I'm really playing for. If I wanted to play the PvP type stuff, I'd load into a Call of Duty or Halo, because that's the same exact experience with people that I know will be, at least, they'll have the same weapons as me, and the same armor as me, and the same abilities as me. If I spent enough time, just a short amount of time with Call of Duty or Halo, I could be just as competitive with those guys as I can with any other multiplayer experience. But Destiny doesn't have that, because I can't tell if when I'm playing the multiplayer with these guys, I'm doing pretty well on it. I'm surprised that I'm going usually 1.5 to 1 in terms of my kill death ratio, and I'm doing great on my team. I'm usually in the top 2 or 1 or 2 on my team, but I never feel like it. I always feel like I am being absolutely decimated by the enemies, and I can't tell if it's because they have better weapons than I do, or better abilities than I do, or there's some sort of a class that's better than I am. I can't tell. And with Call of Duty, you can kind of tell that there's guys that have been there, that have been playing a while, and they have better weapons. And as long as I keep playing at it for a couple more hours, I will grind and be able to get to that next experience. And I hate that sense of progression system. I don't like that style of it. But it's not nearly as punishing as Destiny, because you never know what you're going to get with these armor and weapons and upgrades. You'll never know. It's a completely randomized experience. It's not like I get to choose that. It's not like I get to work towards something. It's completely randomized. And so that keeps me away from wanting to do this player versus player experience they've created. But then I have to for certain elements of the cooperative experience. There are certain stores and upgrades that require you to play in this Crucible PvP experience in order to remain competitive. And I don't understand that. In terms of parental content, because that's one of the things that I know that you guys are looking forward to, this game is probably going to be about what Halo was. The violence was important. There was no substance of any kind, no sexuality, no gambling, none of that kind of stuff, no language problems. Violence was the only thing, just like in Halo, and it was a very light element, all things considered. So, if you're looking forward to pre-ordering this game, regardless of what I say or what anyone else says, if you look at this game and you look at the footage and you say, this is the experience that I want to pre-order, I'm probably going to end up saying it's going to be a 12 to 14-year-old game unless something very drastic happens over the course of the campaign. But take the time to look at all the footage, not just mine, but everyone else's too, and see what you think about this experience. And don't necessarily let the words of other people, including myself, influence you and make you 100% decide, okay, I'm definitely for this game or I'm definitely against this game. There's going to be hype in both directions. Take the time to look for yourself and see what you think about this particular experience. Think about, did you like Halo? Have you played any other MMOs, and did you like those MMO experiences? Because if you don't like Halo or you don't like MMOs, you will almost certainly not like Destiny. If you did like both those games and would love to see a mashup of the two of them, this is it. This is your perfect game right here. This is a mix-up of Halo on an MMO experience. This is the Halo MMO. So if you can find some friends and convince them to get this game, go for it. You will almost certainly enjoy it. If you don't think that you're going to be playing with friends, or you did not enjoy Halo or MMOs, I would avoid this game. I would, wait, see if it comes on sale, think about that, and decide later on. You don't have to necessarily get it the day it comes out. It will go on sale, I'm sure, very quickly closer to the holiday season. They'll want more, more orders. Overall, guys, this is probably not going to be the game for me. I'm sure I will end up getting a copy very close to launch date, but I'm hesitant now. I'm not sold on the idea yet. Destiny still has a long way to go to convince me that this is going to be an experience worthy of the amount of time and effort that Bungie has put into it over the past few years. Alright guys, that's it for now. I'm going to be coming out with more videos soon, so you just hang tight and keep gaming.